Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Lee, and I love you all. It's such a happy time to be together. Today, I'm going to talk about a very interesting but dangerous topic that you may often encounter in your life: gaslighting. Have any of you here ever experienced something like, even though I told you, the other person insisted it wasn't you? Oh, there are a few. Then you may have already experienced some of that. It's kind of like a magic of manipulating the psychology and mind of the other person. And of course, it's bad magic. Now I'm going to tell you about 10 types of gaslighting and the psychology that victims experience in it. 1. Memory distortion. Am I wrong in my memory? This is the first case. I remember a conversation you had with a friend who says, "You never said that. Why are you lying?" And the moment you hear it, you're like, "Did I really not tell you? Or did I remember it wrong?" You get confused. You were convinced at first, but you start to doubt yourself. Eventually, you end up saying to the perpetrator, "I remember you really wrong. I'm sorry. What if this happens? I don't even know what to believe in the future." 2. Emotional disregard. You're too sensitive. Now it's the second time. I told my friend a hard story, and this is what I'm saying back. You're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. How would you feel? You start blaming yourself. Am I really sensitive? Am I not supposed to get angry about this? And over time, you start to suppress your emotions more and more, as if you were a robot. 3. Case denial. It never happened. Third, you definitely remember an incident, but what does the other person say? That never happened. You were mistaken. What do you think? At first, I thought, no, I'm sure it happened. But then I kept hearing it, and I thought, oh, I'm mistaken. This is going to make the reality dim. Guys, this is really dangerous. You're not sure what happened. 4. Transferring the blame. You made me do this. Now, let's move on to the fourth one. This is an example of a lot of things happening. For example, someone gets angry and says, "It's all because of you that I'm like this. What about you?" At first, I want to refute it. But the more I listen, the more I think, did I do something wrong? I start to blame myself, and then I start to feel guilty. 5. Isolating. No one cares about you. The fifth is scary. The perpetrator says this. Your friends, they actually don't want to hear about you. The minute you hear this, you start to have doubts about the people around you. You end up losing touch, and you end up relying on only one perpetrator. Isn't that a scary psychological manipulation? 6. Reality distortion. That's your illusion. The sixth is reality distortion. You said something you saw or heard, and the perpetrator says, "That's your imagination. It never happened." At first, you're embarrassed, but if you repeat it, you don't trust yourself. Then you get a moment where you can't really imagine yourself. Isn't it scary? 7. Repeated praise and criticism. You're good at it, but this is the type of person who is really psychologically tired. This is what the perpetrator says. "You're amazing. But you can't do this." What is it like to hear these words? You feel better when you are praised. And then you fall into the abyss when you are criticized. If this situation is repeated, you end up trying to earn the accolades of the assailant. 8. Comparison and demeaning. Other people are good. 8th, comparison. The perpetrator says this. Everyone else is good, but why are you so bad? How would you feel? Am I really not good enough? You end up completely losing confidence. 9. Forced to agree. I'm right. 9th, the perpetrator keeps forcing his opinion. I'm right. Why don't you know that? At first, I want to refute it, but then I start to doubt myself. At the end of the day, I say, yes, you're right, and I accept everything. 10. Planting doubt. You're weird these days. It's the last 10th. The perpetrator says this. There's something wrong with you these days. You're hiding something, aren't you? The minute you hear this, you start to feel anxious by looking back on your behavior. You constantly start to doubt yourself. And eventually you become defensive in interpersonal relationships. Now, guys, today's gaslighting cases, how was it? It really does shake our minds. The important thing is that you build the power to be aware of these situations. And to believe in yourself. If you need it, make sure you get professional help. So how can we overcome these dangers? The most important thing is to trust yourself and respect your feelings and memories. You need to try to judge the situation objectively, and not be swayed by what the perpetrator says. It can also be very helpful to maintain good relationships with people you love and to share your suspicious gaslighting with them. Because these problems are often difficult to solve on your own, it is also very important to ask a counselor or trusted person for help. It doesn't just list examples of gaslighting, it provides insight into the various issues that may arise in our society and human relationships and sends alarming messages. Many readers have looked back on their experiences and thought about why it happened and how they were able to get back on their feet. They also have a much better understanding of gaslighting than before, and this dynamic can be further enhanced. It's truly striking to see how gaslighting can deeply infiltrate someone's mind, subtly reshaping their sense of self and reality. As we went through these examples, did any of them resonate with you? It's important to remember that recognizing these patterns is the first step toward regaining control and resilience. Many people who have learned about gaslighting express feelings of liberation, as if they've finally found a key to understanding unexplained anxieties or insecurities they've carried for years. They often say that awareness was the turning point for reclaiming their authentic voice and confidence. So, what about you? Have these insights opened your eyes to anything in your life or relationships? Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly valuable, and I'd love to hear them. Let's continue this conversation together. Gaslighting, at its core, is a manipulation of trust and perception, a subtle but devastating way of breaking someone's connection with their own reality. As we reflect on the examples we've discussed, it's key to remember that no one deserves to have their emotions or memories invalidated. Many victims, after recognizing these patterns, have expressed relief and newfound strength in understanding that they were not at fault. Healing can begin once awareness is established, and it becomes possible to rebuild self-confidence and establish healthier boundaries. If you've ever felt confused or doubted yourself due to someone else's words or actions, know that you're not alone, and that you have the power to reclaim your truth. What are your thoughts about this topic? Have you ever encountered or observed anything similar? I would love to hear your insights and continue this important discussion. Together, we can create a space where awareness leads to empowerment and change.